I'm going to close with this story. I could tell you a lot of stories about Hillary, but this is the one that's happened in the last year that most clearly reflects why I believe she would be a great president. I am walking off the green when for the only time in my life I was physically restrained by a caddy. And he got real serious and he said, you know, I do this just to supplement my family's income. But in my real life, I am a captain in the New York City Fire Department. And he said, you know, before 9/11, most of us firemen thought we were Republicans. I mean, we already had what we needed from the government. We had a good job and retirement and health care. And we're mostly Irish and Italian ethnics. We're kind of clannish. And to tell you the truth, we just love all their macho rhetoric. He was real upfront. But he said, on that awful day, when the buildings were coming down, and we were desperately looking for anybody still alive. And in the horrible days afterward, when we were crawling through the rubble, just trying to find some shred of human remains which would enable us to identify people and give their families some closure. Your wife, our senator, was the first person to know that many of us would get sick and some of us would die because of what we breathed doing our duty. Remember the pictures of that air? What you saw in that air were asbestos, PCBs, and benzene, 3 well-known cancer-causing agents. He said, but the president most of us voted for, the whole White House, even the EPA, they said we didn't need any extra help. We couldn't possibly get sick from what we breathed. There was no need for emergency diagnosis and early intervention and aggressive attempts because we couldn't get sick. And for the only time he smiled, he said, of course, I noticed every time the EPA guys came down here, they were wearing masks. And then he said, but they said, not us, we couldn't get sick. We didn't need any help. He said, but she knew better, and she fought for us. She stood up for us. And because she did, and because some people in the House stayed with her, we got the help we needed. And because of her, some of us who would have died are alive. And he said, those of us who died, at least our families had the dignity of knowing that the United States Congress honored their service at a time of great strain for this country. By this time, I'm rooted to the ground, and tears are streaming down my face. And he looked at me and he said, you know, I don't know so much about politics anymore, but I do know this. That's the kind of person who ought to be president. Somebody who knows what it is like to be me. And all the other people like me in the whole country that can be overlooked and not heard, whose interests can be totally trampled. He said, I would do anything I could to make him president. And I sat there, I literally didn't know what to say. I was crying like a baby.